Hello, and welcome to Spirit Among Us. There are many different ways that we can understand God's plan for our lives, and that's important to understand all the different ways. We can say for one thing that God wants to bless us, and that He has plans to bless us, and that is the truth. God has those plans for our lives. Now, honestly, not all of the plans that we see, that we experience, really seem like a blessing. But ultimately we know that God will only send things our way if they are going to be used for our benefit and our good. Because God works in all things for our good. But sometimes it really doesn't feel like that. Sometimes it's hard to believe that, really. But it's still the truth. So what do we do if we know that there's a blessing up ahead, but we know that we have to wait for it? What do we do if we know that God has plans to bless us, but we can't see the blessing? What do we do? What if when we ask God for something, the only thing He tells us is to wait? Honestly, I know that I don't like hearing this answer from God. Now, I know it may not necessarily be a good thing to feel this way, but speaking honestly, it's hard to hear that. And I don't think any of us really enjoy hearing from God that we need to wait before receiving something from Him or before doing some action. But we must remember that God is trustworthy. He knows the plan He has for our lives, and He knows what He is doing. And if He is telling us to wait, whether it's telling us to wait to receive a blessing, whether it's to wait before we do something, it's for a good reason, and we should wait. Psalm chapter 37 verses 7 through 9 say this: "Be still before the Lord and wait patiently for Him. Fret not yourselves over the one who prospers in his way, over the man who carries out evil devices. Refrain from anger and forsake wrath. Fret not yourself, it tends only to evil. For the evildoers shall be cut off, but those who wait for the Lord shall inherit the land." Be still and wait patiently for the Lord. Does that describe you, do you think? I know for my life, it often doesn't describe me. To wait patiently for God, when God's telling me to wait for something, I often don't really have much patience. I struggle with this, honestly. I understand that God's plan is the best, don't get me wrong. I understand that He's telling me to wait for a reason, but it's still so difficult to accept that. So in these moments of struggling, in these moments of trying to have patience, God wants to remind us of some hope, and that His plan is worth the wait. As evidence to this, I want to look at the example of Jesus. Galatians chapter 4 verses 4 and 5 say this: "But when the fullness of time had come, God sent forth His Son, born of woman, born under the law, to redeem those who were under the law, so that we might receive adoption as sons." So I want us to notice these verses here. When the fullness of time had come. Have you ever wondered why Jesus didn't come right away? You ever wondered why Jesus didn't just come right after Adam and Eve first sinned in the Garden of Eden against God? Why didn't He just come right then? Or why didn't He come after Noah? Or why not after Abraham? That is because the fullness of time had not yet come. It wasn't time yet. The world wasn't ready to receive Him yet. God knew what He was doing, and He knew that in order for Jesus to be the sacrifice for all mankind, there needed to be a period of waiting. And now what I love about this example is the reminder of the blessing that comes from waiting on God's plan. I mean, think about it. Because Jesus didn't come right away, because mankind had to wait for His coming, He has now saved us all. Now we have adoption as children of God, all because God knew what he was doing and sent his Son at just the right time. So in your life, I want to give you this hope. You can always trust in this. If God tells you to wait for something, his plan is always worth the wait. Thank you for watching, and God bless.